Hi, this is Patty Butcher. I wanted to do a quick video or tutorial on adding width to your pantograph. Recently, there's been a lot of discussion on Facebook group about people running out of width on their panto and not knowing how to add more to it. You cannot just resize the panto because that's going to change everything. It's going to change the aspect ratio. It's going to change the design so that if you've already quilted a few rows, you're changing the interlock and it's just not going to work. So the best thing to do is just copy part of the pattern and split it out and make your row larger. So I'm going to show you how to do that. I've got a pantograph sequenced here, so if you have your pantograph already sequenced, you'll want to go ahead and undo the rows that you need to enlarge. So I'm just going to go up to row 4 and I'm going to back out of this screen so I can be on the add edit or the design sew quilt screen. I want to add edit pattern and I'm going to copy one of the rows. So I'm just going to choose one of the rows here and copy that. Now I'm going to move that off of the quilt, zoom full, and pan just a little bit so I have some space here. I'm going to move it down to the bottom. Now this particular discussion that I'm making the video for, she had a problem on the left-hand side of the quilt. The quilt wasn't wide enough. This technique will work for both sides of the quilt, so if you want to add to the right side, you would just work on the right-hand side. If you're going to add pattern to the left, you would do it over for the left-hand side. So it's the same technique, you just would be doing it left or right. So what I want to do here is I need to add to this width. So I am going to find the repeat of the pattern and right here, and then you follow the pattern along to right there. That is one repeat. So I'm going to be splitting it out right at that point. So I'm going to say finished so I can get to my add edit pattern screen, and I want to choose split pattern. So I'm going to say split. Now it says touch the desired splitting point on the pattern and then touch split. So I'm going to zoom all the way in. I'm going to turn my zoom up to 500% and I'm going to tap right where I want to zoom in at. And that's as far as it'll zoom. So I'm going to turn my zoom bar off and then place my bullseye right there in that point. I'm going to make sure it's really right in the point. So you want to zoom all the way in, and then I'm going to say split. So now when I zoom out, so I didn't want to zoom out that far, so let me come back in. I'm going to turn my zoom back to 150 so it doesn't do such large increments. Turn my zoom bar off, and you can see here now I've got a start and an end point here. So I've split out this portion of the pattern, which is exactly what I wanted. So I am going to take that pattern, say modify pattern, touch the pattern I want, and I'm going to move it up here where I need to add to it. The first thing I want to do is I want to get rid of this little portion here where I need to add the pattern in. So I'm going to split that out again. Or I'm going to split that portion out. So I'm going to say finished. And I'm on the split pattern screen. So I'm going to zoom in again onto this area right here. The piece of the pattern that I want to get rid of. So I'm going to zoom all the way in. Turn my zoom off, set my bullseye right into that crease, into that point, and then say split again. So now I'm going to zoom out so you can see. And again, we have a start and an end point, so we've split this little bit of a pattern away. So I can say I can delete that pattern, or I can just modify it and move it out of the way. So I'm going to say modify pattern. I'm going to choose that little bit and just slide it up out of the way. Now I want to move this in and snap it to that start point. So I'm just going to say select and then choose that portion of the pattern, continue, and then slide it right in and snap it in. So those little boxes are snap points. So the start and the end point will snap together. Now I need to combine that pattern. So I'm going to say combine pattern, and I'm going to start with this portion, say continue, and then touch the rest of the pattern, or the rest of that row, and continue, and say finished. Now that is all one pattern. So we've just added length to that row. Whether you need to do it on the left or the right, the process is the same. So if you quilt one row at a time, you could just keep quilting that row over and over again till you get to the bottom of the quilt, and then clip it off. I know this is probably way more pattern than what is needed on the left, but that would be where you could just use your clipping lines to clip away what you don't need. But this gives you the rest, the inch or however much room you need on the left-hand side. If you are a sequencer where you sequence the full quilt, then you're going to just copy this row and overlay it over the other rows. So we'll say copy pattern, copy that full pattern, continue, and then slide it down and snap it in over that next row. So you would continue that process all the way down. If you want to delete the underlying pattern, you can. To do that, we're going to say finished, and I'm going to say delete pattern. Now I'm going to zoom all the way in, and you can see a start point here. You can also see a blue straight line transition. That's the original pattern. So we are going to choose that, and that's let me zoom out so you can see. It's highlighted part of the pattern, or it's highlighted the original pattern. Don't worry, we're not going to delete the full pattern that we copied. We're only deleting that underlying pattern, just so to get it out of the way so you don't accidentally choose it for the next row. And I would do that all the way down. So yes, I want to delete the pattern. So now you can see that the full row is still there. So you can continue sequencing the whole thing, and then you would just clip off the excess using your clipping lines. So that's how you can easily add pattern if you made a mistake on your quilt, or you're finding that the quilt is drawing in more than the width that you set it up for. So you could quickly and easily add more pattern. Hopefully this will help. Thanks.